6,
Is
7.
he in Norway or something like the Northwest Territories? No, he's in California. Like
yeah, I'm in Northern California. I am literally like 10 I'm coastal California. I'm within 10 miles of the redwood forest. So that's all fog, coastal, very it doesn't get cold, it doesn't really get hot. The ocean kind of moderates all the temperature. And this has just been crazy. There's been right outside of where we live on the coast, there's been two what the fuck do they call those? It's a tornado on the ocean that comes, a cyclone that comes inland.
Wow.
2 of them. And then and now we're getting ready to get hit with another snowstorm, I guess, that's supposed to be just as bad. And roads are collapsing everywhere around us, primary roads where supplies are not coming in because like there was a week you couldn't even get down to the bay because the primary highway slid off into the fucking nothing. Like there was nothing.
That's insane. And like these atmospheric rivers they speak of, like 15, 20 years ago, there was no such term, no such thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember where I live here in Calgary, Alberta, we experienced one about 10 years ago, and it led to this like once in a 1,000-year flooding, and downtown Calgary was under 2 meters of water, and like it just mountains were falling down, literally flowing away. It's nuts. And
we've gotten 8 of those in the last month hit directly here, and we're about to get the 9th.
That's right. Like, and yeah, Chris, shout out CJDV, reading my mind that I'm gonna have to get Dutch Synths on the case on this one. And I do recall him mentioning
he's the earthquake guy, right?
In California, yes, sir. But also into the modified
I'm right
weather.
in the hot spot of that. I know he's watching that. I'm right in the epicenter of the hot spot. Ferndale, where all the big ones are happening, it's right in the Ferndale area. So I'm if you go just kitty corner for me, like 30 miles, that's Ferndale.
And that's really interesting. You're mentioning like the snow too, that far south, and like that much of it. And right at the same time as these earthquakes.
There was snow in Eureka. There was snow on the beaches. There was snow everywhere. In LA. LA proper got snow.
Really? I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
I don't watch much TV, so I guess that would be why. That's insane. Like, it's warmer where I am in Canada than around you right now. That's just ass backwards.
Yeah, everybody's was telling me that like all my friends from the East Coast are telling me how tepid and warm it is that they didn't even have. They're calling this the year with no winter, and we're over here. We have burnt through. I thought we were doing good. I live. You guys saw my farm. I live completely off grid. Generate my own power. We have a wood burning stove that we cook off of and everything. And Brian and I this year had done good. We cut up a lot of wood, had a lot ready, and we've been cutting wood again for months. We are out there burning wet wood. We can't keep up because winter just will not stop, and it's cold and wet.
Just that's crazy. And it was a drought before that for how long?
There a drought to the point where Lake Mead, which powers Vegas and LA, Lake Mead, they were almost going to stop generating power out of it. They were having emergency orders of we're going to shut down the generators. We can't run it. And Lake Shasta was pretty much dead. They had if you lived here, and Oroville was dead. Shasta, this town that had been abandoned when they dammed it and made it into a lake that people had even forgot about. This town, you can go into some of these buildings now. Like, and there's like trains, abandoned train tunnels for trains people are going in, because all this stuff's exposed that hasn't been exposed since Shasta Dam was made. And Oroville was dead empty. All of these are full now. Everything, like the bridges are just going out, roads are collapsing, and more water's coming.
Right, and like, so your spring runoff hasn't even begun. The snowpack is still growing. And the atmospheric rivers are still coming. Like, it seems
and
like
this
it's
next
weather
one,
warfare.
Snow again. They're saying it's gonna be snow again. It's fucking March, and I'm in the the coastal jungle area of California, Humboldt County, where it's all sunshine and weed, right? And we have been just stuck in snow for it's going to be April apparently before we're even looking at that being gone.
That's crazy. Like, it just, my mind is blown trying to process it. Like, we just passed the spring equinox. Like, it is springtime here in southern Alberta, Canada, but it's still way further north than you, way harsher conditions. And it was a mild winter up until about a month and a half ago. And then at the end of February, mid-February, it turned cold, and we got about a month straight of -20, -30, the real cold. And now it's like everything's melting again. It's been like +10 degrees Celsius, so like +10 above freezing, which seems that it's warmer than you are there, right on the coast, that should be stabilizing the weather. And usually moisture is warmer too.
I live where the coastal fog goes. Like every morning the coastal fog comes in, and I live where the coastal fog still hits. I'm that close, and we are freezing here. It's insane. Like, we got snow and hail and cyclones and earthquakes and fuck.
And like, that's like a major agricultural area too, isn't it, for fruit and stuff?
Yeah, like huge. All the vegetables and dairy. The dairy that we get here fresh. I mean, I have my own dairy cows, and that's the best. But besides them, like, I can go to the store and get stuff, and it says what day it was milked on, and I can pick up milk that was milked that morning. Like cream top chocolate milk. We get this chocolate milk from the store, and then I get this ice cream, and it's like this cream from this straight cream from the local dairy that was made fresh. And oh god, the milkshakes will make a man fat. Ooh, my wife called me Muffin Top. We had a run of those for like a month, for like 2 or 3 weeks, and my wife started calling me Muffin Top. Like,
I'm jealous of the cream, right? But you can make it outdoors. You turn into the Arctic. And speaking of which, the Aurora Borealis is so far south too. Like, last night I went outside in Calgary, it was straight overhead, and I hear that it's all the way, you can see it all the way south, almost to Texas, apparently. Just nuts.
Yep. The pictures that I'm seeing from my relatives in South Dakota, because most of my family still lives in South Dakota. Obviously, my accent's not a California accent. I'm from South Dakota. The pictures are insane. Like, that's from like when I was a little kid, it used to sometimes get like that. And I haven't seen that since I was a little kid. Like, since I was a little kid, most of the time you can't even see it in South Dakota anymore. And we live in a very remote rural area, so it's not light pollution that you just can't see it anymore. And now it's just insane.
Right? Like, I was mesmerized last night outside just watching it dance for a solid hour going above. It wasn't too much colors, sadly, but like I've seen even further south, which
is mostly the green.
Yeah, mostly just the green. Little bit of red. Reminds me a lot of my electrolysis and my monoatomics, though, and how they look. And separate and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's the weather by you, Mr. Jeremiah? Are you still there, or fall asleep on us?
Oh, no, I'm hanging around.
Nice. So how is the east side of the country or continent?
Well, we're, I suppose, more moderate. I mean, we're neither snowed in or rained out. Our power does fluctuate every now and again, actually far more often than it used to, which is disconcerting at minimum. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I would say it's fairly mild here. We have Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is a pretty good weather stabilizer, and we're only maybe about five or less miles off of that location. So
nice. Well, I think the Pacific Ocean's an even bigger stabilizer, but the crazy, I guess that's what's responsible for the continued atmospheric rivers coming at you, all the moisture there in Humboldt. But before we went live, we were talking a bit about the red-blue shift, the blue star, the different ages of the sun, and how it all ties into the macro alchemical process. Jeremiah, did you want to start going over that a little bit, good sir?
Oh, I really shouldn't, since I was just introduced to this idea. But I will mention what idea I was introduced to, and that was so this idea that there could be a very large amount of space dust. And space dust is obviously a major continuous observation by many Earth-based observatories and terrestrial satellites. We watch to see space dust and look at the behaviors of it for space weather, so we can tell exactly where what is going and what it is doing. Here's the interesting thing. Space dust is considered generally uncharged or neutral matter. It is pushed around very significantly by the electric fields between large systems, like, say, the electric field of the Earth and the Sun. We get a large number of small particles, but we also get from our galaxy every now and again a very large amount of debris coming in. And if it hits our sun as a transmutational mechanism, a generator and transmuter, if you will, plasmatic and very high temperature, if dust hits it, it's going to be perturbed by the electric and magnetic fields of the sun and effectively stressed, meaning that it will start to take apart more complicated or larger molecules at the surface and convert them into smaller molecules as they're re-emitted. But unfortunately, this causes some decay of the emitted heat. So the sun will actually get hot, or it can get hot, I should say, if enough dust hit it. It would take a pretty large amount. I mean, we'd really have to have a serious problem. But there could be the possibility of an epoch caused by a very, very large influx of external non-solar system debris, which could affect the cycle of the sun as it transmutes or converts other input matter that's not native to our solar system. That's mainly what I was talking about earlier. Again, all completely unsubstantiated evidence, just found about it today, and quite interested in investigating to see whether there is actually any substance behind it. But interesting enough to point out and describe.
So I've heard of whether it was like NASA, which is never a straight answer, or the European Space Agency, or some of the freaking academic institutions, but they were saying that they've calculated that where we are positioned in the sun's like relation to the center of the galaxy, we're now re-entering the galactic plane and thus getting more galactic ray energy or something like that. Have you heard about that aspect of it?
Or non-solar junk.
No, sorry.
Non-solar junk, contaminants, non-celestial debris.
Right, but that's more energy coming in that potentially into the sun transmutation.
Right, it's more mass. It's more mass for the energy for the sun to turn into energy. More mass to be transmuted down to smaller constituent elements, and the related electromagnetic emissions to be sent off and hit us.
So I bring it up also because it ties into the potential of the Hopi legends and prophecies of the different ages of the sun and the different.
Aha! Yes, indeed. I know exactly which legend you're talking about, and it is quite related to what I am referring to.
Exactly, right? And that there's also these different legends around the worlds of a time when the sky was red and a time when the sky was like a darker blue or a purple or something like that, which
the end of ages, end of the universe.
Well,
as they seen it, anyways. The end of current life on Earth as it continues to exist. There will be a disruption, I think, is what they were really trying to convey there. A disruption to our comfy, nice life cycle. We might actually have to do something, in terms of effort to prepare.
And like, hopefully it's not catastrophism. Hopefully it is ascension, and hopefully it's up to us and our free will that, it's like this moment, Babylon moment, where we don't choose nuclear war and killing ourselves, and instead choose to survive and work together, whatever it takes, I guess. But the rumors of now being a white sun instead of no longer a yellow sun, as I remember and are in all my childhood drawings, and the, I guess, conspiracy / esoteric understanding of like 2012 being the shift and switch of ages of the sun. And is this actually now proof or evidence of a complete new era, time epoch, age of the sun, transitioning from a yellow to a white pulsar? And I was mentioning before we went live as well that Nassim Haramein has put out a couple of videos stating that the 11-year solar cycle, where the magnetic poles of the sun flip, hasn't happened since 2001. And then 2012 was the second time that happened, and then it would prove this year, 2023, if it doesn't flip again, that and that he also showed evidence that instead of it flipping, it started pulsing a bit, and that the fact that if this is true and that it is now pulsing and putting off a white light, are we transitioning into a white pulsar?
Well, we can find that out. I mean, all you have to do is go to Google and type in solar spectroscopy data, find out the average emitted wavelength of our local one and only sun, and determine what its spectral output is. See if it shifted over years. We should have a pretty good graph of exactly what wavelengths it's been emitting and where it's at now.
So for me, this is just no different than watching any natural cycle. If you look seasonally, and cannabis growers have really isolated this down to a T. When you first have seedlings, so you're trying to mimic spring, you do this gentle orange light, and because you don't want to start out with that harsh blue light, which is going to be what you do second. And the harsh blue light is your vegetative light. And that puts your plant into its vegetative cycle, where it's producing a lot of cellular material real fast. The seedling can't handle that. It's an orangish light, and that matches spring. Now, then it goes to the blue, which is your summer light. It's more of a blue spectrum or a white spectrum. Then it goes back to an orange spectrum for the fruiting. And this is where you go like back in the old days before we had the really nice bulbs, which have these spectrums. We used to use metal halide bulbs in the vegetative cycle, and then you'd switch to a high pressure sodium, which was a much more orange light for the fruiting cycle. And then that made the plant, help make the plant turn into a fruiting thing. And then the sun in the winter then is a white light. That's a very dead light that doesn't want to produce light or life. And this is just a cyclical thing, and this is the same thing during the day. Your morning sun, which everybody talks about, like the different legends where that morning sun,